Welcome to LumenSoft video tutorials. In this tutorial, you will learn how to define a supplier, delete a defined supplier, closing the supplier account, and deleting the supplier account closing. Let us start off by defining a supplier. For this, from the configuration menu, select Miscellaneous and then click Supplier. This launches the supplier screen. All the suppliers in the system are defined through this screen. In the name field, type the name of the supplier. In the code field, type the code of the supplier. The rest of the fields are available to enter the contact information for the supplier. These are optional. In the opening balance field, type the opening balance for the supplier. If you owe some amount to the supplier, then you will type it in this field. If no amount is entered here, then the system will save 0 as the default opening balance. From the opening date field, select the date from which you want to maintain the account of the supplier in the system. You can select the current date or even any date from the past. Any additional comments about the supplier are entered in the comments field. Once done, click Save from the toolbar to save the supplier. The defined supplier displays in the grid below. You can also delete an existing supplier. However, in order to delete a supplier, you must first delete the dependent records. Such records are payments, account closing, and GRN, etc. In our example, while defining the supplier, the system took 0 as the default opening balance. Access supplier account closing from the purchase menu to delete the closing for the supplier. Now, the system allows deleting of this supplier. Now we will show you the supplier account closing. From the purchase menu, select supplier account closing. The supplier account closing screen displays. You can close the account for any supplier. From the supplier name field, select the supplier whose account you want to close. From the closing date field, select the date up to which you want to close the account for the supplier. Now, enter the closing balance for the supplier. You will enter the closing balance just once against the supplier. The next time, the system itself calculates the net closing balance. If there is no closing balance for the supplier, then type 0 in the field. It is necessary to enter some amount even if it be 0. Any additional comments are typed in the comments field. From the toolbar, click Save. This saves the account closing for the supplier, which now displays in the grid. This implies that the records for the supplier up to this point cannot be altered. Similarly, the closing balance entered cannot be changed either. However, you can delete the account closing. From the toolbar, click Cancel. Now, select the respective account closing and click Delete from the toolbar. This deletes the account closing. Once again, you can define the account closing for the supplier. In this tutorial, you have learned how to define a supplier, delete a defined supplier, closing the supplier account, and deleting the supplier account closing. You can refer to other videos for various features of the application. Thank you for your attention.